Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Long time no see. So today I want to give you guys a breakdown of this restoration I did on a 57 Chevy Bel Air. No microphone today, so hopefully the audio's not total shit. So yeah, bear with me, and I'll just give you kind of a quick rundown, what I did, parts I used, and yeah, give you a look over it and see what you guys think. So when I got this car, it did not have an engine and transmission in it. And I got it pretty much like you're seeing it now, without the tires and rims. So it was a pretty clean car. Just before I got it, it had a 283 V8 in it. This is originally a 6-cylinder car, from what I understand. I didn't do too much research on it, but it had a 283 V8 with a B&M supercharger, and I think 2 4-barrels, a 2-speed power glide, and 456 gears. So this car was good for about 50 miles an hour, and that's about it. So we want this car to be able to cruise on the highway, to do cross-country trips, and to be a nice daily driver and everything. So we came in. I'm still not done with a few things. I'm still messing around with brakes. We're actually having a hard time getting the brakes to work properly on this. Hopefully some tools to show up for that tomorrow. But this is a engine out of a 2012 Chevy Silverado. It had 16,000 miles, and it was a wrecked engine, or a wrecked vehicle. But the engine was really clean. The miles were really low, so it was a good donor. And we got the transmission actually out of a different vehicle. It's out of a 2012 Silverado, 1 year newer. So this one's at 11, the transmission's at 12, and it's a 6-speed automatic. So got the engine, and it was a DOD, so displacement on demand, and variable valve timing. So I took apart the engine. I called Texas Speed. They sent me a Texas Speed in-house billet camshaft. I've got all the factory, I believe they're from a Corvette, front cover, timing chain, everything to get rid of the variable valve timing. And then I've got a DOD delete kit. So that was a lifter valley plate. Let's see, there was lifters, push rods, I believe rockers. There's upgraded springs for the cam. Ended up redoing the heads just for the hell of it. We cleaned them up, put new valves, new springs that came with the cam. We did the valve stem seals and got all that done. I ordered a Sniper EFI low profile intake. I was actually worried about the height of the intake. Come to find out, there's plenty of room inside of these bays. So I could have gone with any intake I wanted, but I do like the look of this intake. This intake actually during COVID, took 6 months to get in. Most of the parts I ordered for this car, I did not see for 6 months, maybe a little bit more. A lot of this stuff took forever to get in. So come to find out, Holley Sniper EFIs, I believe, are made out of China. Don't quote me on that, but I think Holley went to China for a lot of their manufacturing. So yeah, pretty simple intake setup. It has 2 ports underneath. So I ran one over to the booster here. And I can't remember what I did the other one. Let's see. We've got a, I can't remember what I did with the other port. It's got the map sensor on the back. So all the hoses and wiring are hid underneath. Real easy to hide all the injector wiring and everything like that. So those were the matching rails that came with it. These are holley coil covers. So I thought they'd match the car really well, and they do. Unfortunately, there was no way to get them to fit inside this engine bay. Let me get you guys a light. So I cut them down on the saw and then ran them through the mill and spent a little bit of time. Let me find a light here. Spent a little bit of time getting them to fit. So, get you a light right back there. So yeah, they're milled down so they can fit right up against that firewall. And I just cut them as close to the bolts as I can get it. And it ended up working pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the outcome of that. So they worked out pretty well. Let's see, we've got a 2010 Camaro exhaust manifold on this side. We have a 2012 Corvette exhaust manifold on that side. So this car didn't have power steering or power brakes or anything. So it's got all that now. Let's see, we got a rag down in there. Get that out of there. So that manifold comes extremely close. It's actually going to look closer and comes really close to that that power steering gearbox. From the looks of the camera, it's so. Let's see. We've only got about a quarter to 3/8 of an inch clearance. I think it'll be fine. We're going to see how it goes. That was about as good as I can do. So the power steering gearbox is from Borgeson. And there's a Borgeson. So I originally went to Borgeson. This is actually from CPP. And there's a CPP steering column in here. And that little rag joint actually took about 6 months to get in during COVID. So I waited for that forever. So the brake, booster, master cylinder, proportioning valve, disc brake conversion is all from CPP. And I originally ordered like a 10 or 11 inch brake booster. And it hit the valve cover. It was a little bit too close. So this is their 8-inch. And so I've got about 1 inch of clearance in there. So that worked out pretty good. We're going to see how good the brakes do. Right now, it'll stop the vehicle, but it's super soft. It's about the same braking as it had with the drums on it. Or a car with drums. I haven't drove this specific car before. But I've drove some other ones, and I wasn't super impressed with the brakes. So we're assuming we're having a master cylinder problem. Hopefully going to deal with that tomorrow. So we've got these are about $250 windshield wiper electric conversions. It works pretty good. I still got to get the windshield wipers on it. I've had the old ones and everything, and it did all right. They make a kit to actually update the windshield wipers to something else behind the dash. It's like $2,500. You have to remove the dash. There's a huge amount of labor that goes into them. So didn't want to go through all that. So factory truck alternator, that was actually the same alternator, so you can see how clean the vehicle was. Had to end up changing the water pump to a 2010 Camaro water pump and idler pulley. And then there's actually, I'll see if I can get some pictures of it. There's actually a adjustable, what is that company? ICT billet. There's an ICT billet adjustable radiator hose under there. Radiator hose. Sorry, I got rid of my my gimbal there. This radiator is from DeWitt's. super expensive radiator. These, I think pushing $1,000 on that radiator. These LS engines do require a lot of cooling, and you don't have a lot of width on these radiators. There's not as much room as you would think in a 57 Belair. So I got as good as radiators I can find. DeWitt's is famous for making super good radiators. The fan and fan shroud actually came on the other side, and there is not enough room with my intake tube. I've got the snout of the water pump down in there, and it didn't work. So I actually had to remove their shroud, weld it back on the other side, and get a pusher fan. Come to find out that pusher fans are far less efficient than puller fans. So it's still working. It's cooling good. I might change the thermostat, get the temperature down a little bit lower. So I'm going to get like a 160 thermostat for this. Put this little reservoir bottle in there that's got a, I'm a little bit low right now, but it's got a sight glass on it, and then it's overflow. So it pulls, and the cap's still a pressurized cap, and so it'll draw from this tank and put into this tank, and then I got to make an overflow for this side. Didn't know how to do that where it was going to look too real well, but I like that coolant reservoir. That's actually just like an eBay coolant reservoir. I have tons of them up on my toolbox, so I keep all kinds of different coolant reservoirs to see what I like best with the car. So this is one of the eBay intake tubes. It was aluminum. I liked I had a few of these as well. So I've got a bend over this pulley down here. That's the 2010 Camaro, so it goes over that pulley perfectly. But when you buy one of these, you have to weld in a map sensor bung. I also had to weld a bracket onto it to bolt it onto the head to keep this side so it's nice and sturdy. This came powder coated, and it was some really cheap aluminum, like a pot aluminum. Pretty much impossible to TIG weld. So you got to TIG weld one of these map sensor bungs on it, and it was a super dirty weld. We tried to grind away the powder coat. That didn't work. So yeah, just ended up finally making it work. I had a welder much better than me get it on there. But I tried to spray paint it afterwards, and then you could see where we were grinding and where the powder coat was. So this is actually Raptor liner. I got a few other videos of me doing that. Durable coating, I think it looks pretty good under there. And that was kind of to hide the grind marks and to hide the welds and make the bracket look a little bit cleaner and everything. So I also use this same bracket for my PCV intake. Just ran a bulkhead through there. You can see on every hose clamp I used heat shrink hose clamps from Gates. I just like the way they look a little bit better. No leaks, nothing yet, no hose clamps. So I used them everywhere, and it's just a cleaner look. So I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. The wiring harness is from BP Automotive. This is the first time I've ever spent a good amount of money on a wiring harness. It was like $1,500 with the ECM. And this is the first wiring harness I've ever had work right out of the box. So I've ordered some $300 eBay stuff. I've had people repin them. I've had custom-made wiring harnesses from they take the factory one and repin it, and they've never worked. I've always had to do work on them afterwards. So BP has a way to test all this stuff on the bench. Pretty expensive, but it routed flawlessly. The wire is high quality. The sheathing is really high quality. This is actually my tape here. This was about 2 foot longer. I only had 2 issues on this wiring harness. So the vehicle ran. It started right away. It was tuned. The ECM was tuned right out of the box. It didn't end up that way, but I had some other issues that I caused on that. But this and the foot pedal had about 2 feet of wire. So I had to cut these back and repin them. And that way I can run nice, clean wiring. The fuel line is, I don't know if it's Fragola specific. The fittings are Fragola. This is PTFE line. So all the fittings are from Fragola. I'm working on doing something different. This is about the best system I've used so far. But I just bought a Gates crimp machine, about a $5,000 crimper. And I'm going to try making my own power steering lines and everything with crimp fittings. These things are like $20, $30, $40 a piece. The line's really expensive. And they are not user-friendly. I don't care what people say. Those lines suck. They're the best lines that you could use for DIY. They're still freaking hard. They require time to learn them and everything. What else we got under here? So CPP supplied me with the brackets. Still waiting on a few things to go inside to the pedal. Had to move the battery to the driver's side. I've got a Moroso oil pan. We can go down underneath here in a minute and I'll show all that stuff. Factory throttle body. Not much else under here, really. Radiator hoses. I had to buy maybe like 40 radiator hoses to actually get some that fit pretty well. And that one's still not perfect, but it was as good as I can get it. So something to do with the 6-cylinder car. So crazy enough, the V8 conversion is made for the 8-cylinder cars, but not the 6-cylinder cars. So something to do with this radiator support is different. So they wanted you to put the radiator and bolt it to the front and stand it at a line so that fan will fit. So I didn't like the thought of having that out of line. I like the way it looks. It bolted right up to the factory spots, and I didn't want it sitting out in front. I like the way it looked there, so I decided to put my fan in front. Trying to think of the brand of this fan. Let's see if it says. It's not going to say here. I'll have to think of that, but it's oh, here we go. Let's see if we can get that on camera. So it's a Corregio fan, I believe. So super loud, but lots of CFMs, lots of flow out of that fan. So I got my little laser etched emblem here on the firewall. Like I said, this wasn't a super high-end restoration, but I had a pretty decent budget on this car, not too bad. So we didn't mess with paint. We didn't do interior. I did end up doing glass around the whole car. It had laminated glass, and it was delaminating all around the edges. So it's all brand new glass from Classic Industries. We did not do door sills or anything like that. These doors could have used a good restoration. Just wasn't in the budget at this time. Did new tires, new Kragers. So it's got disc brakes, like I said, from CPP. Didn't upgrade any of the suspension. Let's see what else we got here. So that's about it there. So the original, well, the interior that I got the car with, it's been reupholstered at one time. So this is a CPP steering column. Not sure how I feel about that. It caused me a lot of issues, but it ended up working in the end. They're like $1,000 steering columns, and maybe I'm just not used to using them, but it required a lot of attention. So I only did, let's see, I only did about 2 or 3 things in the interior. So these are Dakota digital gauges. It's gonna have a, let's see if I can turn the, yeah. So very nice set of gauges, bolts right in the factory place. You can change the colors on the gauges to, man, they had like 40 or 50 different color choices. And then you could change the needles separately. I like the neon blue and the neon, called a magenta, actually. I still have to go for the needle, the needle's magenta. I still got to go through and program in the fuel sending unit in the rear. Still got a little bit of work to do on that. But, so yeah, I've got the dimmer where the cigarette lighter used to be. So I can control the dim, works really well. You can go through these gauges. There's probably lots of good videos out there. But you got all your gauges in here. You can go through and basically take anything from the OBD2 port, which I got right down in here. Sorry about the lighting, guys, but so I got my OBD2 port right there, and that cable is what I'm getting all my data for my gauges off of. So it worked out really nice. You don't have to have a bunch of wiring. So it has, I believe this gauge has blinkers and everything, but I used the factory blinkers, and I just converted these to LEDs. And then I actually converted these ones to LEDs right here. And those are my dummy lights for the brake master cylinder, or the proportioning valve. Those little windshield wiper kits come with kind of a pretty generic plastic knob here. But it's not too bad. Like I said, they work pretty good. I use the factory ignition cylinder, factory heating unit on here. One day this car will probably get vintage air on it. And then I used a digital stereo and Kenwood speakers. So I'm trying to think of who makes these stereos. I'm sure most people already know, but let's see if we can violate some. Uh-oh. Try to get some good music. Oh, that's... So I just used one Kenwood in here, and I put 2 in the back here. They actually worked out really well. That stereo is killer. Does pretty good. So that's about all I've done to the interior. One other thing that I did, I started out with a low car mechanical linkage that goes down to the transmission, and it would bind up, and I was having a hard time getting it to go through the gears real smoothly. I would adjust it and mess with it, and I just couldn't figure out how to make it work real well. Got on the internet, started looking. They make some electronic push button ones that you can mount a little plate and have park, reverse, neutral, everything. And it's a electronic actuator on the side of the transmission. I would have loved to try one of those, but they're like $1,600, and just wasn't going to happen. So I got a low car cable shift mechanism. Ended up tearing apart the whole front end of the car, making some brackets, and getting it to work. So, so you got your detent out of park, and then this thing just smoothly shifts through the gears. So I can go neutral. That's third. Let's say I think the second, first. Yeah, and I think these cars, the 6L80s, have 3 gears that you can get to, but it doesn't show it on the gauge. So very happy with the low car cable shift mechanism. I will never go back to a mechanical shift mechanism after that, the solid rod that goes down. So converted the blinkers. I use the factory ones, but they're converted to LEDs. The warning lights that are on the factory Bel Air, I actually converted that to the pressure switch on the so this is an LED, the pressure switch on the proportioning valve. So yeah, that worked out pretty well. I still got to switch these 2 around. So I turn on the left blinker and the right one comes on, but that's actually just on the dash. I got to do a little bit of, I got the wire switch there. So I don't know how people are going to feel about this one, but I actually converted the reverse lights to the blinkers. So I took the reverse lights out, the running lights up front. I put in a amber LED, got it all wired in. I've got the license plate light converted to LED. One of these days I'll probably end up doing the brake lights. And look how good those gauges look. And that stereo, love the updated look on these cars. So the running lights up front are LED ambers, so they worked out pretty good. I like it. I know it's not original, not like anything else on the car is original, but no reverse lights, so I'll deal with that somehow one day. I'm actually thinking a night vision backup cam, something like that, or just figure out how to hide some reverse lights or a good looking reverse light somewhere in here. Haven't decided what to do yet. I might be able to integrate those into the lights as I have them. Yeah, so that's about it up top. Let's go down underneath. I'll show you guys a little bit there. Let's get one more out of this guy. Need to synchronize those locks inside of the lift. So we're gonna have to use a flashlight for most of this. 6L80 trans is a huge frickin' transmission, much bigger than what I'm used to. So it was very tight in here, and it sticks down a little bit. That took a lot to get that thing to sit up as high as it did. I'm comfortable with it. We're not going to go Baja in this car or anything, so we'll see how it works. Worst case scenario, we poke a hole in the transmission pan and have to put another transmission pan in there. So 2.5 inch individual pipes, flow masters. So we actually had a new drive shaft built. The original one will not hold up to the LS, and this was a cheaper route to go anyway, so that's a little bit thicker steel drive shaft. Still a little bit of work to do down here. Moroso oil pan and ARP studs on it. Let's see what else we got down here. So the CPP brakes, single piston calipers, nothing real high performance there. All of the swap kit was provided by MR Hot Rods. And they did a pretty involved kit. I mean, it had everything that I needed. I was pretty happy with it. They provided me with all the Fragola fittings, all the lines, everything for the whole entire car to swap this thing over. Oxygen sensors, computer, wiring, pretty much everything. So transmission cross member, yeah, kind of everything here. So like I said before, we got this is from Fuel Tank Inc., I believe. It's I think it's a stainless steel tank. They sent me a in-tank fuel pump and a nice little gauge to set up. This tank has a drain on it, which is nice, especially with ethanol these days. These things cannot sit with ethanol in them. The rear end has already been updated to a Camaro 12 bolt, I believe. Someone's gonna recognize that if I'm wrong. But this is it's a 68 Camaro for sure. And I think the Camaros came with 12 bolts. I went back and put a set of 308s in it. This car had 456s, and we want to be able to drive this car down the road. So still need a little bit of suspension work. Like I said, this wasn't a full restoration. This was just to get the car up and running and drivable. So not much else to see down here. And of course it was a little bit to be able to show it off and everything. Yeah, car runs, drives really well. It'll do 80, 90 mile an hour. You could just cruise. It's not screaming. It is a very, very good cruiser. Could use a little bit of suspension, but these cars had a really nice ride as it is. Right there, we've got the fuel filter regulator from a Corvette with all the Fragola fittings and everything in there. That's the Moroso oil pan. That fit pretty well. That was probably pretty necessary. I don't think you're going to get anything else in there besides something fabricated to fit for these cars. These cars do not have much room. They are a lot tighter than most people think. So anyways, that's my review. Still got a little bit to do on the car, but I figured I'd do a update on it. So it is getting windy and stormy and angry. It is Mother's Day, so I'm going to go inside and have some dinner. I've got an update coming on this car. This is more of a street strip car. I've got a video of me doing the suspension and everything on it. It's coming along. It's not doing too bad. I got a 56, somewhere out there, 56 Ford truck, getting a new engine, going back all factory. I've got a 70 GMC, getting a LT1 swap out of a 91 Corvette. What else we got around here? Too much shit. That's for sure. Yeah, so I got some tractor content, a little bit of driveway content coming up. So I've got a excavator out here and 10 tons of crushed gravel. So where the excavator was, I just tore out a cottonwood tree and stump. I got to redo my driveway out here a little bit. Starting to get potholes. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is going to be a video specifically for people who love Bel Airs, planning on doing their own projects. That's a pretty long video there of me stuttering, trying to remember all the parts that I put on this thing. But yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Stay tuned. I got a little bit of house content coming up. Some tractor content, some driveway and construction content. Still trying to get some of these older cars up and running and drivable for the summer, even though we're in May now. It's already summer. Supposed to be driving these things. I went to Sonic the other day and got some drinks in this car, so it's not a bad start to the summer. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.